or
Wow.
that you find yourself, or you think that you're on a spiritual enterprise,
Mm.
and constantly you'll be taken off from it by any kind of deception or any kind of detour that's being brought into your mind or into your heart, where
Mm.
you say, today I wanted again to read a book, meditate, and dedicate my life to something higher. And constantly I'm being put off. Uh,
Mm.
and this may come, again, like I said, this may come from the inside, from your own psyche, where
Mm-hmm.
you, as it were, sabotage yourself
Ah, yes.
and not getting to the real thing. And in a worst case scenario, it may be something in you that has taken hold on you.
Mm.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the possession side of things from
Oh.
something outside in. Um, the effect is most of the time kind of the same thing. But of course, a possession case is much more serious.
Hello, Synchronauts. How are you? My name is Aida. I'm from Mexxicamelot, and I want to welcome you to one more program talking about this fascinating topic of from summoning to exorcism when the veil thins with our dear guest, Mike Bais from Circle of Avalon. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Ida, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever people are. But
Yeah.
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, and good to do another episode on this topic.
Yeah, great to
Happy to.
have you back.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is very interesting because when I was looking at the presentation that you have so kindly prepared for us for this series of programs, I saw that we still have some way to go. So maybe we will need more than one program. We don't know. But if that will be the
Nope.
case, just to let you know, Synchronauts, that we're going to take our time because this is very interesting stuff that we are discussing. And we have already laid down a foundation to talk about this topic that
Mm.
is very interesting, and you're giving us information that puts to rest some ideas related to the use of Ouija boards, for example, or
Mm.
also participating in certain rituals. However, I don't know if you want to give us like a really, really short reminder of what we have talked about so far.
Mm. Yeah, I think one of the most important things, and as you know, and some of the listeners may know, is that from the background of the mystical side of Christianity and the Kabbalah involved from the ASA, the Apostolic Succession of Arimathea, we have a certain viewpoint, a cosmic metaphysical viewpoint on existence and good and evil as two phenomena within the totality of being. And and that really makes sometimes a difference in how we regard evil and how also to deal with it
Yeah.
from different points of view, different perspective or different worlds. You have natural evil, you have psychological, emotional evil, you have metaphysical evil. You have evil on the side pillars on the tree. You have evil on the middle pillar of the tree. So there's much to consider,
Yeah.
and dabbling with spirits, let's put it like in a general frame, and trying to invoke these kind of things for fun, as we talked about with the Ouija boards, those kind of things, um, is often leading much more to confusion or to a kind of personal satisfaction because you think that you may have had contact with deceased people, um, but often it's more like self-trickery and deception than anything else. Um, so we talked about this, and of course, the thinning of the veils cosmologically in certain periods of time during the year. Of course, during um, the All Saints, All Souls period, the
Yeah.
Samhain period, and what it can do to our psyche and how sensitive certain people can be to pick up things in their surroundings, but also interiorly how certain subtle energies or spirits are actually communicating to you, or even the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit in a nutshell. Of course, we have to also talk about different forms of evil, evil inclination or evil influences upon us. Like, well, we named a few, like vexation and obsession and possession and these kind of things. Well, we may talk about it again, but we have addressed it at least 1 or 2 times. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very important to have this background. I'm going to share our presentation now.
Yeah.
So, and just to remember a little bit where we were in our last program, we were talking precisely about also when a person, how do we distinguish, no, if a person is having a real episode that involves evil forces,
Yeah.
or if it's more like a psychological matter more, and how you have, when you were telling us a little bit about how it works with exorcisms, and how you
Yeah.
need, as a priest who's doing an exorcism, it's not, you don't go alone, you need also the help of health professionals in the field of psychology to also
Yeah.
make sure that what you're doing, it also has like this medical background. So I think that was very interesting. That's the last thing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And then you were going to share with us this image. So I don't know, what is this about? Can you tell us?
Yeah. Well, there are many examples or classical examples of all these forms of possession or obsession or vexation or infestation, and some of them are quite well known. This is actually one of the English kings, George III, who was known to be at least vulnerable or very, let's say, um, well, in a sense, psychologically weak to, that in certain episodes of his life, he would be or completely healthy and sane, and other periods he would fall back, not just into simple depression, for example, but he would really show um, signs of at least oppression. It means
Oops.
that everything within his life and the surroundings uh, were actually for him falling apart. And he would not make sense at all. He couldn't rule. He couldn't reign any longer as a king.
Mm-hmm.
And often the normal physicians at the time didn't know what to do with him. So
That's correct.
he would talk in strange tongues. He would really be physically very bad, um, and show certain signs of serious illness,
Mm-hmm.
like blisters and sweating and strange color of skin. And of course, these things can now be maybe explained better
Yes.
from our clinical medical perspective and knowledge. But at the time, it was not. And he suffered it from, until the end of his life.
Yeah.
And there were some interventions with exorcists from the Vatican.
Wow.
Who tried to cure him from a real a case of possession.
Mm-hmm.
So not just an obsession, not from a psychological problem coming from the inside, but something coming from outside in. That's possession.
Okay.
We
I
talked
didn't know
about this.
that. I didn't know that about George III. I know a lot about him because maybe if somebody watching this program today, if they like Bridgerton, he's
Yeah.
actually part of the Bridgerton universe. A little bit of his life is portrayed there in a very romantic way, obviously.
Yeah.
But actually, I have read about, because I was very curious about him before I watched a movie about his life. And as you say, he had the blisters and he had all of this, apart from the psychological things.
Yeah.
And people were desperate at the court because you cannot rule that way. Like, this is impossible. And how can we say that our king is like crazy, no? What does that say about us as a nation? So they were really desperate. And nowadays they have come to the conclusion medically that he had porphyria, actually. And also another very interesting fact about him, astrologically speaking, is that the planet Uranus was actually named after him, because the person who discovered the planet before seeing it, I think it was just based on calculations at first, but because he was such a patron of, because he was into all of these kinds of studies related to astronomy. He was very interested in science and botany and all of these things. So because of that, originally Uranus was named after him, the discoverer, just to say thank you, because he was being a patron, and because of what he gave, he was it was like the discoverer was able to get to that point. And I think it's very interesting to see how a person who has, and I'm giving this as a context also to realize and to notice that a person who can be so bright intellectually, no, could also be very vulnerable when these kinds of things come to them, no, like these psychological problems. And obviously at the time, people didn't know, they didn't have the level of science and medicine that we have nowadays. They could have, I mean, had he been treated nowadays, probably they would have right away realized, oh, he has porphyria and we have to treat him for that, and then also all the other myriad of things. But at the time, it was very obscure what was happening in terms of beliefs. And obviously, who is to blame for this? We don't know. It's the devil. So let's go find the exorcist. So that makes a lot of sense.
Wow. And that was at the time. No, thank you for adding all of this information, of course. And at the time, the church, and as a matter of fact, it still is the same thing here and there, is that from a theological perspective, there's still this position of the church as being representatives of the good, and the evil is the thing that is opposing the church and the faith within Christ. So there's always this dark and light war going on, with not much, let's say, eye or perspective for what is the evil's function is within the totality. And that makes it, I think, very interesting to have a look at that particular thing. Does evil have a function in the totality of existence?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to wipe it out or to destroy it, which is impossible, of course. We had the same thing going on here, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
So this is just one example from history. We have quite many examples alone in the Western world. Some of them are documented in certain movies. But this is an example of George the Third, who, as a monarch, could be, I'm not saying that he was, but he could be an interesting victim for a true possession.
Yeah.
Because it's his position as a monarch of a certain nation. Yeah.
Well, now that you mention it, maybe, I don't know, is it possible? Now I have this question. Is it possible, if you are possessed, for example, to manifest I mean, it kind of makes sense now that I think about it, to manifest a disease such as porphyria, to like make things even worse and freak people out more and bring more chaos? Is that a possibility?
No, it definitely is. I mean, the things that we now know in psychiatry and psychology, what we now call, for example, bipolarity or schizophrenia, paranoia, these are all disturbances which can also happen as certain phenomena of possession. It's ripping apart the psyche from the inside.
Wow.
so that it becomes dysfunctional and you become a tool because you get so weak. And of course, one of the weapons, so to speak, of evil is not to integrate, not to unify, but it's to disintegrate and to fragmentize.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in the psyche. That's one of the dangerous things, and that even people talk as if they're different persons, split personalities. Yeah. So the physical and the psychological illnesses and diseases that people have can come from a purely psychological, spiritual foundation.
So who knows, no? Maybe, well, as you say, I hadn't thought about it, but obviously he was a king, so maybe he was obviously a more important target for evil forces to manage. So there's like the physical, the psychological, but also like the supernatural or the preternatural. So we will never know, but that's a great example. I did not know this about, or maybe I don't remember. Probably that's the thing that he was that people were trying to exorcise him, because obviously, and also something that calls my attention is that it had to be because at this time the Church of England had already been established. And why did they call the Vatican? Because the Vatican is specialized in these kinds of things in a way. So that's interesting also to note. Okay,
no, exactly.
We'll have to do more reading about George III, but there's a lot of interesting things happening around his life. Like, great example. Thank you. Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, let's go to another example.
Okay, another example. Yes, we love examples. Yes, of course.
A bit more famous, probably. Don't know for everyone.
Yeah.
But here we have the scenario of Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, and this is the time during or just after his 40 days of meditation and purification in the desert, where he went off on his own. And this you maybe interpret as a literal going of 40 days into the desert, time of purification and atonement, maybe even, to come to a deeper connection, understanding with God. And that is most of the time also a precarious position to be in for a human being, for the soul, because you may also be tempted or somehow assaulted by evil beings, and in this particular case by one of the more darker princes in the hierarchy that is very interested in certain persons. It happened to the Buddha as well, under the Bodhi tree. And here we have Satan itself, who comes to visit Jesus, and comes with these classical 3 temptations.
Yeah.
To try to possess the body and the soul of Christ, because that's a great boon, a great treasure.
Yeah, if they had managed that, big triumph for the dark side, definitely.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not per se, I would not say this is a fight between good and evil or light and darkness. This is something that should happen. It's also a psychological, deep psychological, archetypal meeting between the soul and the next step ahead. So you're meeting the so-called guardians on the threshold for your own good, not just because you're tested, but also because it's necessary to be tested.
Yeah.
And well, the 3 great temptations here are about the world, about possession, about power, of course, and about spiritual pride. Those are the 3 temptations of Christ. So they are not always the same. Like in the sense of, in the case of Buddha, it's sex, power, and and duty, so to always fulfill your dharma.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they are temptations. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it adorable now. Like when you think about the temptations that come to a person, could be
Mm.
Jesus or oneself. Many
Yeah.
of the times they're very silly, but they're presented to us in such a way that it's
Yeah.
like really, hey, this is interesting
Mm.
because, for instance, like the devil was offering Jesus, I'm gonna give, like, if you come to my
Mm.
side, you will have all the power. And like, he already has all the power. Like, why are you offering something that he already has? No. So that's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
mean by some of these things might be like they are really silly if we deconstruct them. So
Mm.
maybe, I don't know,
Mm.
this is a thought that's coming to me. When we are faced with temptation, we can deconstruct it in this way, just like, really?
Mm.
Is it something
Yeah.
like, am I being offered to have something that I don't already possess, or is it really something that
Mm.
will bring me the happiness, or bring me to totality and wholeness, as you teach us at Circle of Avalon?
Yeah.
You have to think
I
about
think
it.
one of the deeper probably implications is not per se that um, that there is something involved of material goods or whatever it is, but when Satan says, cast yourself from this tower, and the God your Lord will lift you up. Um, this
Mm.
would be like um, giving a demonstration of the power that you have,
Yeah,
instead of what Christ always said is, I am the one who God has sent me, and I am the one who represents him or God. And so he was always very humble when it comes to how he demonstrated the spiritual life with which he identified himself.
hmm,
So if he would have gone for that particular temptation, he would have demonstrated that it was like he would have given away that humbleness, that humility, and
yeah,
said, I will show the people what I can do
yeah,
in a certain way. And I think that's the meaning behind those temptations, is to
yeah,
expose yourself, and from the tiferet of your tree, the hubris side, the darkest shadow side of Tiferet, is not to show these spiritual gifts in a way that you say, these are not from me, they are from the source.
hmm,
But then you claim them to be yours. That's the temptation.
yeah. And
Or
this
one of
this this is a great point to remind everybody listening. When you're looking for a teacher or a guide or a counselor, um, if people are flaunting like, oh, I am the best, no, or I was,
mm,
I don't know, Nefertiti in my past life or whatever.
yeah.
Um, when they're doing that, that's not a true teacher.
Mm,
Because a true teacher, as you say, like Jesus did, and we can all learn from that as well. When when you are really who you say you are, you don't have to flaunt it. You exude it. It's
no.
like, and they talk about a lot about this. I think in the medical fields, no, when they say it, like, if it smells like a lion, looks like a lion, and runs like a lion, you don't need to label it, or the lion doesn't have to go out and say, oh, I'm a lion, no, look at me, roar, rawr, no.
Mm,
uh,
yeah.
Only people who are making these claims are people who are not the real deal, like, or they're not believing, as they say, as you say, they're not really in their tiferet, showing their true essence.
Mm,
And there's a temptation, I think, that people who might be disconnected from their tiferet, or to want to prove a point, might fall into that temptation. But
mm,
Jesus didn't fall to it, nor Buddha did, because they were very much in their heart, in their center, and they knew,
yeah.
like, I have nothing to prove, because I am who I am, no, or I am
Mm,
that I am,
yeah.
and I need to prove absolutely nothing. I just need to be me and
Mm,
recognize the higher power within me, and I'm just a vessel for that power. There's nothing to be
mm,
said about me. So
yeah.
it's interesting to see how the temptations might come to us, that we are like normal humans, no? And we want to like, oh yes, like call me doctor, no? Or call me, I don't know, you know, like we want to have the titles and to flaunt things around. That's when we fall into the temptation. And it could be from the humblest of the person, like who could fall into this temptation, or way up to kings, no? Like, show me you are the king, no? Go and kill all your enemies. That's not what being a king means, no? So this is also very interesting, a reminder of how temptation shows up, both in history and mythology, but also in our everyday life, and how we can detect that and say, I'm being tempted. So I have to be mindful.
No, it can happen to everyone, every moment. It's the giving up of free will. That's the highest spiritual gift from the Garden of Eden. And if you give it away, that's the empowerment, so to speak, of the devil, because you give away God's gift, and through it you yield to the other side, and you give in to amorality, to your instincts, to living a life as an animal, for example. And that's what we can see in the world as well today, where that happens, and what the implications are. We become very low in our way of expressing and dealing with the earth and with other creatures and other human beings, and a disregard for everything sacred. That's exactly what these great teachers never yielded to. They knew that, like you said, they're a vessel, a representation of something which cannot be known directly. So they said, I am a representation of that light. I am the same as the light, but what you see here is a temporary expression or vehicle of that essence or that light itself. And what the devil or Satan tries to do is to put continuous emphasis on not on the light itself, but on the division, on the superficiality of how things look like. And anyway, so that's what we see here. So it's not, like you said, not just a picture to do with a man at least 2,000 years ago, but it has to do with us. It's an archetypal scenario of our own life, potentially every day. As a person and as a collective.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready to move on to the next one?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
So, as we have seen at the former picture, you saw an image of Yeshua, or the representation of Christ consciousness, which is the consciousness of the one who knows the Father in Christianity, or in other words, the one who knows the source and the one who is one with the source. Whether this is being called God or the Father or Brahman or, the divine source, doesn't matter. And the Christ within us is the ideal foundation for any exorcism. The greatest opposition for true evil, the deepest metaphysical evil, is Christ consciousness. But we shouldn't forget, especially from the theology and the dogmas from the Catholic Church, is that Mary, as the vessel of Christ or the womb of Christ, is equally important when it comes to our fight or our dealing with evil within us or within the world. So she is the representation of the womb, or you as a person, or a church or a temple. And she is also at the same time the representation of purity. She is the virgin life, so she is the pure womb that receives the direct spark or the seed of God, and that's Christ consciousness. So that's why I chose this picture, because no exorcism rite is complete without the invocation not only of Christ, but also of um, Holy Mary, Mother, or the Holy Virgin.
Wow, I didn't know that. Awesome.
She should be included and implemented in the totality of it. Yeah.
So I
And
have
it's
a question for those
sure.
people who are listening to us who are not who do not belong to a Judeo-Christian tradition. How would you explain, or how would you talk about these archetypes, the archetype of the Christ or becoming Christ, and the archetype of Mary as a mother of God? How can we talk about these archetypes in a more universal way? I don't know if you could give us some examples, please.
Yeah, no, this goes back thousands and thousands of years. This is much older than Christianity, and even Judaism, of course, is being based upon old tribal Semitic, Canaanite religions, and even outside of the Judeo-Christian tradition, we have many examples in Egypt, for example, or South America, where there is, out of an unknown source, there is something being created, a space. And that space is completely pure because it was made actually out of the source itself. That is the womb of creation. We could say that is Mary, or it is Isis, or it is Ishtar, or Inanna. You have many of these names, or Nuit in Egypt, and she is the primordial vessel in which the light of the holy source itself is being actually being put or being integrated or impregnated, and that light has also many names. So sometimes it's more like masculine oriented. I mean, we shouldn't, I think, mistaken that Christ consciousness, Christ light, is not the same as Jesus. So it's the spark of light that from the Greek is being called the Christos, or the one who is being anointed, like a drop of holy oil that falls from the source within a certain vessel. And if you know as a person that you are that vessel, maybe in little, like in a microcosm, but you are that womb, you are that goddess, then you might more easily or be more receptive to that light itself. But again, that light had many names. It is Atman within Sanskrit. It might be the son of light being called, or Tammuz, or Marduk, or Krishna even. There's so many different names for the same essence. So it is basically it's a universal story. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, because I mean, maybe some people are interested, but they are like, okay, that's not my tradition. No. I remember I used to know a Muslim person some time ago, a few years ago, and I don't know why we were talking about, no, because obviously the prophet for them is Muhammad, and for us it's Jesus, no, and he said like, your prophet is not my prophet, no, and they say that's why you need Jesus in your life, because you don't know about Jesus, no, but obviously because we have different traditions sometimes, we need like a more universal approach to understand, as you say, that these are like this energy is being manifested in many different mythologies and religions and traditions, and it's important to be mindful about it. And that's what I really love about the ASA and working with you, is that, and you wrote about it a few days ago in your Facebook account, that you were saying we are not Christian, but we hold the Christ within. And there's a difference. There's a big difference, because the Christ, as you say, it's not like Jesus is not the only one who can claim to be Christ, because it's a more elevated universal energy that we all, it doesn't matter what tradition we come from, we can all aspire to that, and we should, because it's part of the whole of creation that goes beyond boundaries and nationalities and languages and even religions. So
Sure,
that's
it
why
does.
I was saying that, like, even as you were saying, other examples here in Mexico, for example, Quetzalcoatl would be
Yeah,
one of those
exactly.
examples. So
Yeah.
how do you explain, or how can you explain that all of these different figures all over the world in different moments, they're popping up with the same qualities, and it's because that's the Christ within that is being manifested all over, all the time.
Of course, yeah. These are like universal ideas, concepts that live within deep within the human psyche, or some would like to say collective psyche,
Mm,
or unconscious. But they pop up in different frames and disguises.
yeah.
That's depending on culture and the times when these develop. The problem then is, can we distinguish between the cultural expression in time and the universal foundation, which is actually the source of the expression itself. So
Mhm.
the example could be different prophets of different traditions, like in Islam and Christianity. And we could, of course, start wars as we have done over
Oh yeah.
thousands of years.
Mhm.
Well, thousands, sorry, hundreds of years, I have to say, um, because of the misunderstanding. Well, this could be, um, you know, an example of where evil is tearing actually the human
Oh
soul
yeah.
apart, causing wars because of the fact that the light is not being understood for its essence, but is only seen in the substance and its superficial um, representation. The
Mhm.
difference between prophets or the name of a book or all the other nonsense actually, and
Mhm.
not being able to look beyond the superficiality. That may be also the work of evil,
Yeah, that makes a
and
lot
we
of
are
sense.
the instrument of it, big
Oh yeah.
time.
Oh yes.
Like Jung said, I think he said some very important things. Um, he said, man has the responsibility to know itself. It is the greatest responsibility because mankind is the most dangerous species on this planet. And to not know yourself is to risk actually not just the life of mankind, but the rest of all life actually on this planet and maybe even beyond. So, and that's exactly what evil doesn't want. It doesn't want to be identified, it doesn't want to be exposed and known. So the greatest work that we can do as a human being is to become of self-knowledge. And that's exactly what God wants. It wants to behold itself in the mirror of existence, as we say in Kabbalah. But that is also a universal theme. It's not just Kabbalah.
That's right.
So the self-knowledge is the greatest weapon against evil in all its forms.
Mhm. That's important to note. Self-knowledge. Yeah. And
Yeah,
sadly, so many people they are scared to know themselves, no,
yeah.
or they're a bit lazy, or yeah, I think mostly it's fear. No, what are you gonna find there? Maybe I'm not gonna like what I see. So many people
No.
avoid that
Yeah,
like the plague.
it's understandable. And of
Of
course,
course.
you can find big treasures and all kinds of talents and beautiful things. And also, you find some um, unwanted darkness, maybe,
Mhm.
and things. And
Yeah.
yeah, but that's all in the game. That
It's part. Yeah, it's part of the experience, definitely.
that's part of the experience, exactly.
Hmm.
That's staying in a metaphysical way. I want to meet my angels and my demons alike.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah,
cannot
that's the
just,
mature stuff.
you cannot have your cake and eat it.
No,
Like,
exactly.
you have
Yeah.
to go for the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you will meet your demons anyway in
Oh
life,
yeah.
like angels. I mean, if you're compassionate and you're beautiful and you're good to other people and creatures, that's the angelic part. And,
Mhm.
if you are ugly or jealous and angry and whatever things you do to disrupt the world and destroy it, That's the demonic side within you.
Yeah.
So it is there anyway.
Yeah.
But to
It is.
say this is a part of me,
Mhm.
that recognition and that taking back your responsibility of what happens within you and how you actually express it to the outside, that is the true work of any person, and that's serious exorcist work on a personal level.
Good point.
That identification. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Ready to move on to the next slide?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. This one. What is going on here? Tell us, your mic.
Yeah, well, in a sense, we talked about it a little bit. This is the Jacob's ladder of evolution. And some Kabbalists may know it as the extended diagram of the four worlds. Nevertheless, this comes from the story of Jacob in the Bible, in the book of Exodus, in Genesis, where he sleeps in a certain in one of the narratives about him. He sleeps in the desert, and he has left home, and he needs to find himself. He's in search for his Tiferet, his essence, and there he sleeps, and resting his head on a stone, he has a dream, and he sees this ladder reaching from heaven to earth, and angels ascending and descending the ladder. And that's where the image comes from. It's being used in many different ways, in many different occasions. So the Jacob's ladder, or the tree of life, is made in that image, or vice versa. And you have two sides of the ladder, which are like the two pillars. And they say the one is the form side, and the other one is the force side. And you have equally on both sides the good and the evil. So you have the angelic and the demonic sides on both sides of the ladder, and you can relate them to the Sephirot of both sides of the ladder, but also through the middle pillar. There you also find a particular kind of hierarchy of angels and demons. The angelics are very interested in helping the soul to elevate itself to the highest source. But the demons on the middle pillar are very interested in trying to somehow prevent you and sabotage your effort to get higher on the ladder. And this whole problem is being acted out within our own psyche.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it can also happen, of course, on the worldly scheme of things in your daily life. But the true wars in heaven on this ladder, that's what you find within your own psyche, if you care to recognize it. So, yeah, that's what we are seeing here. You see the different demons trying to pull off certain people from the central rungs on the ladder. And these demons can be identified with different things within you. Can be sex, money, power, whatever it is. And every individual has its own particular constellation of vulnerability, and if you know by experience and by self-knowledge, by reflection, what those things are, you can be on your guard. You can oppose it in a way.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting what you just said. Like, if we recognize our dark side or our shadow side, and then things start popping up, then we can like stop it on its tracks, or at least diminish the damage in a way. But for that, we have to be very aware and to be observant. And that takes practice, definitely, because sometimes we go in the unconscious, we just go by inertia in our lives. And then when we less expect it, the words of our mothers and fathers come out of our mouths, no? We've done some damage, and you didn't even realize, because you're in automatic pilot. So I think it's important, this practice of being aware, no, this mindfulness, and not in the sense of, oh, let's disconnect. No, be mindful of the moment, be mindful of what you're doing. Because if not, then you're going to run into autopilot, and then this little, we have the devil and the angel, so the devil is going to be pulling you, and you won't even realize that you've fallen for the trap. So I think that's also very important to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah. And we can become stronger, train ourselves by not falling, and not tipping over because of the powers of our own shadows, of our own demonic side.
Yeah.
So again, it's like a cosmic journey.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary one. No one can escape it. We shouldn't be superstitious about it, or again think in the light of the opposition as being against God. These are entities that work together in the whole divine setup that we are actually living in. And again, so the demonics are also being created by God, and they have a function within the whole scheme of things.
Oh, yes.
And let's say, for example, that on the normal natural level, the demonics, like now in autumn and winter time, they break down things, they destroy, disintegrate things.
Oh, yeah.
That's the natural level and explanation about evil, but they are necessary. Otherwise, well, I don't have to explain that. Everything starts to grow, and there's no decay. We call that cancer in the body, for example.
Yeah, that's right.
So we need the demonic also to stay healthy on a psychological basis and a physical basis.
Yeah.
But there are particular hordes or hierarchies of the demons, and they are very interested in spiritual devolution, not in evolution.
Yes, of course.
And they test that like the tests of Christ, etc. And some of the tests are very classical, like the hubris, the spiritual pride, and those kind of things. And others are a bit much more personal. So the more you know yourself, again, the more that you can expect to be tested on those kind of things.
Yeah, you mentioned, I don't know if it was last program or a couple of programs ago, that the more you advance, in your self-awareness, it's gonna get tougher. Like the tests are gonna get even more fun. So it doesn't get better. It actually, like the training reaches another. That's how I see it. Like this is a training, and it's gonna reach another level. Because as you say, if we put the label of good and bad for everything, then we're missing out on a whole scope of things. Like, okay, it's not necessarily bad or good. It's an experience, and it's here to make you grow. So are you going to take it as, oh yeah, like this is a curse, and I'm done with it, and there's nothing I can do to change it? Then you're going to be fulfilling your self-prophecy, and we have free will to change that. No?
Exactly. That's a very important point. That is exactly the importance of saying this is an internal process of where we have our own responsibility to deal with it, how difficult it may be. But this is not something being put upon me, or it is evil per se coming from outside of me. This is a part of the whole psychological makeup that our human psyche is a part of.
Yeah, and it's not personal. It's like that
it's
for
not
everybody.
Personal at all. No, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of trying to see it as a universal cosmological event.
Yeah.
And that's why probably unconsciously a lot of people want to stay small, because then you're outside a certain danger zone.
Yeah.
And you can see it with the Buddha and the Christ. You can name another few names here, but they are being tested more severely. Until death even. And but they are, most of the time, they're up to the task as far as they can go. And this is what we can also try to do, is to challenge ourselves and say, okay, I can take this now. This
Yeah.
until today, I have been able to resist the challenges, and I've seen it. And so, what's next?
Yeah.
So that might be a spiritual invitation to that one can proclaim, as it were, on the ladder of evolution.
Mm.
Mhm.
Wow. Very
Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
Ready for the next slide?
I am.
Good. Okay. Whoa. This is very intense. What is happening here, dear Mike?
Yeah. So Samael is in the Gnostic tradition often being seen, regarded as uh, the spouse, the masculine spouse of Lilith,
Hmm.
and they are like a pair. They are the demonic supreme pair opposed to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden.
Hmm.
So Adam and Eve being seen, at least theologically, as the two pillars of the Garden of Eden, so to speak. And so they come with the order of God, of the divine. With them, everything is in accord with the will of the Holy One. And in opposition to them, you have this male and female figure, Samael and Lilith, who are exactly doing the opposite. So they represent destruction and chaos, very importantly. So they disrupt and disorder the will of God and everything in the Garden of Eden that is beautiful and true uh, and whole. So that's one of the functions here of the entities of Samael and Lilith. And later, Samael is also Kabbalistically being seen as one of the archangels
Yeah.
on the tree appointed to Gevurah. And I think that's quite interesting and important, because there you see that Samael is not just an evil entity to get rid of, but it's a necessity within creation.
Mm-hmm.
And there, Samael is often translated as the poison of God. So it is
Oh.
the one who tests creation like a border patrol. So
Okay.
if the lightning flash comes down into creation, the will of God, something has to test um, that influence of the divine coming into existence.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Samael is being installed by God to do it. It's not against it, but it is the force that burns away with flames the things that not belonging to the divine world or to the divine will.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes away the impurities and the things that not of integrity to to the divine perfection and wholeness within existence.
Okay.
So again, it is not opposed to creation. It can be opposed to creation, but that is also dependent upon the application of the forces of Samael. But we
Mm.
cannot blame Samael itself for being who it is.
Yeah. Because he was
Okay,
created with that purpose.
exactly so. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. What would be the difference between, for example, Lucifer or Satan and Samael?
yeah, that's a good question, because Lucifer was being said to be the highest archangel and the light carrier
Mm-hmm.
of God, being actually next to the Holy One. And Lucifer fell from grace because it didn't want to bow. This is
Mm-hmm.
like a theological folkloristic tale. Didn't want to bow to the will of God when God made Adam, or made um, existence, because Adam Kadmon is not just a man, but it's mankind, or it is humanity, and everything that is being created out of that image. So God was quite happy with it and said, so now look at my creation and bow to it. And most of the hierarchies of heaven, they would bow to God's creation. And Lucifer said, I do not wish to bow to this abomination. Some say that was jealousy. I don't know, but
Kind of
and
sounds like it,
then
yeah.
yeah, of course, it's very personalized in this way. These kind of stories, but this is
Mm,
a way that we can understand it. And then Lucifer was kicked out of heaven and fell into the world. And there they say, but this is not, there are different sources how they explain this. And they say then Lucifer, as the highest light bearer, became Shaitan, or the one who tests creation. That became like the new cosmic uh, task or function of Lucifer.
okay.
So the Shaitan is not completely Satan, not completely apart um, from Lucifer as an entity, but they are
Mm,
not the same, and in a sense
okay.
they are the same. And
Okay.
Samael, we can say the same thing.
Mm,
It has a similar function on
mhm,
the level of the sphere of Gevura. It burns away impurities,
mhm.
and Satan doesn't do exactly the same thing, but on a more deep psychological, spiritual level, Satan is testing the integrity and the free will of the human being. The one thing it cannot do is to destroy the human soul,
Oh, yeah.
but it can try to make the soul itself destroy itself.
Is it possible for a soul to destroy itself?
Well, it can at least corrupt itself uh, to a certain degree that it can hardly get up and rise up the ladder of evolution. Um,
Wow.
Again, there are different debates about it. In Kabbalah,
Mm-hmm.
they often say that the soul or the receptive part of, of the human being, the ruach, is not created, so it cannot be undone.
Mm-hmm.
It's being installed by the Holy One inside of a body.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting idea. So it depends on the theory behind the soul. If the soul is created, it can be uncreated, it can be
Yeah.
destroyed eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a yes and a bit of a no, the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at
Okay.
least can be corrupted. The soul is by nature not per se pure. It's
Hmm.
also under development in the whole evolution of our human uh, being. That's what we try to do with this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was asking because, again, talking about another series, which is called Lucifer. It's actually
yeah, ah, yeah.
available now on Netflix. Like
Mhm.
he is named Samael as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when I remember the first time I was like, huh? Who is Sam? Who is this guy? No. And
Mm,
then
mm.
studying with you and also doing Kabbalistic studies, then you can see a bit of the difference. But I think it's important to remember, like, they are all manifestations of the same kind of energy, and they, in principle, they are the same, but at the same time, they're not the same. They're different. Yeah.
No, no, exactly. And this is the same as we adopt in our psyche different
Mm,
masks of or persona. So you can say,
yeah.
I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm sweet, or I am angry, I'm jealous. And
Yeah.
you can say the same thing with these archetypal names
Mm,
and their functions. So you can say, I'm like Samael, and I am destroying things that are not pure, which can be a
mm.
high spiritual value, of course, but you can
Wow.
also be destroying things with it.
Yeah.
So it's a matter how you apply it,
Yeah.
and you can also be your own or someone else's Satan by
Mm.
testing yourself.
Oh, yes.
Instead of waiting for it to happen, you can say, "I'm going to test myself in this and this situation."
Mm.
That's the Luciferic principle, you could say, within your own life.
Hmm.
This is not for everyone, but you can do that.
Yeah. So in a way, you
Yeah,
can switch the original purpose of the energy to bring it to good, to a higher good.
exactly. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. That's
And
really,
in
really
this
interesting.
way, yeah, psychologically, this is quite, let's say, normal for a human being
Hmm.
to occupy different positions or let you know that there's not just one me, but there are different masks or persona
Oh,
that
yes.
are being used by you. And these are archetypes on the tree. These are
Mm,
the angels. These are the demons.
yeah,
And to know who is who and when they appear, um, when they disappear, that's a very important part of the spiritual work. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
mm,
Wow.
of knowledge again.
Wow. Very interesting. Okay.
Mm.
Should we check out the next slide?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So maybe we can finish today's program a little bit about with this one.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I put this one here as to show 4 ways how evil works through the human being or the human
Mm,
psyche. Um, and these are probably also quite known if people like to watch certain movies about exorcism.
mm,
Then you often are introduced to these, like deception and lies and flattery, between brackets, diversion.
mhm,
Um, and these may happen in a possession case. So something coming from the outside in and taking over, um, to make you vulnerable and weak. That entity works on you from the outside in, and
okay.
it weakens you by deception, by lies and flattery.
Mhm,
But this also may be an obsession case. So where you deceive yourself, you're not honest to yourself, and you divert yourself from your true purpose, for example, or from the purpose of moving towards the light.
mhm.
So I'm just saying that deception and lies and flattery may come from the outside and or from the inside itself.
Okay.
Mm.
So
But
the
it's a
inside,
it's a great weapon.
how,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, how would it be from the inside? Like, you get an
Mm.
idea and then you start like, oh my God, I'm so fine. Look at me today. I'm looking like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at me, how intelligent I am. Oh my God, I did this amazing thing. How great am
Yeah.
I? Is that it?
That could be it. Yeah.
Wow.
Or that you find yourself or you think that you're on a spiritual enterprise,
Mm,
and constantly you'll be taken off from it by any kind of deception or any kind of detour that's being brought into your mind or into your heart,
mm,
where you say, today I wanted again to read a book, meditate, and dedicate my life to something higher. And constantly I'm being put off. Uh,
mm,
and this may come, again, like I said, this may come from the inside, from your own psyche,
mhm.
where you, as it were, sabotage yourself,
Ah, yes.
and not getting to the real thing. And in a worst case scenario, it may be something in you that has taken hold on you.
Mm.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the possession side of things, from something
Oh,
outside in. Um, the effect is most of the time kind of the same thing. Um, but of course, a possession case is much more serious.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, and well, the second one, accusation, most of the time goes hand in hand with the first.
Mm,
Through guilt and shame, that often leads to stagnation. This has been a great weapon, strangely enough, because it's how evil works through the human being.
yeah.
Accusation of a lot of religious institutes
Oh, yeah.
to affect our human soul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Instead of becoming free of guilt and shame, which is the way of light,
Mm-hmm.
to see it as something that we can work with. Um, so one of the ways of evil you can see that often happen in classical exorcisms
Mm.
is that the entity in a possession case will address the exorcist priest or bishop in a way that it constantly attacks the exorcist with um, um, with certain memories to do with guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important for the exorcist itself to be really prepared and purified to do confession, for example. That's what a Catholic priest would do, to be as pure as one can be, and not being too vulnerable to the accusation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, in daily life, outside of an exorcism, this is also a way to look at these things. How, to what degree am I accusing myself, or am I open to the accusations of other people? What am I doing with my guilt and shame?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
to what degree do I stagnate? And if I do, then that's an evil thing in itself.
Well, I mean, it's nice for you to show this to us, because I think it happens to a lot of people. It has happened to me, definitely. And I'm realizing that maybe it has to do also with the religious education that I received, because as a Catholic, and I don't know exactly how the prayer goes in English, but in Spanish we say "por mi culpa," no, and you like hit your chest and say, "It's my fault, it's my fault, it's my," like the church itself is priming you to be feeling like, that's where we have a grasp on feeling guilt and shame, like you should be ashamed because Eve gave you the original sin, and now you are like you're fudged,
damned,
you're damned, like so you have to feel guilt and shame, and then you go and give your money to the church. And then, I mean, my grandfather, my mom's dad, he paid, we have this blessing from the Pope. I don't know which Pope it was, but he was very proud of it. I paid, and then we had the paper, like, the Pope is blessing us, so that's okay. We don't have to feel any more guilt or shame about our sins, because I mean, this is absurd in so many ways. But we don't question that. Again, this is good, like that Luciferian part can be good to question this. Like, is it really so? Like, should I feel guilt and shame to a point where I am being nullified? This is absurd. And so I think that maybe that's why where you can find more possessions is on the Catholic side, because we have been like, that's part of the everyday spiel, no? The guilt and the shame. So I don't know.
No, it's a work of evil, actually, which of course is irony in the face of a religious institute. But that's has been a great problem until this very day.
Oh, yes.
I mean, to take responsibility from the soul, that kind of spiritual maturity, that is very important. So how do you bring people to that point within ourselves of self-consciousness and maturity, that you say, yes, I have done things wrongly, and I do feel guilty and ashamed, but now what? What am I going to do with it? That's what a priest, or I don't know, an imam, a religious leader would or should do to help out. How do I pass this guilt and shame and not get stuck, like you said, in this nonsense about an original sin? I mean, what spiritual evolution are we heading towards? Well, probably none. We stagnate exactly there. So
and it's not nice to be. It's not nice to be stagnating, and I'm speaking from experience. So that's not cool.
No, stagnation is actually the opposite non-movement of the Holy Spirit, because the Ruach HaKadosh, the Holy Spirit, is moving everything constantly forward in states of renewal and regeneration and inspiration. So stagnation is something against the Holy Spirit. So you want to give people the opportunity to keep moving and to develop and to evolve. That's a spiritual virtue.
And it's hard to get out of that stage. So
we haven't done a good job. Of course, there are a lot of exceptions also in religious institutes, but most of the time the core of the institute, the dogma, doesn't work that way. But there are enough people, fortunately, who have seen the light, and they are working in a different way,
Yeah.
like parishes, in churches and temples, and they see, well, this is not working. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And the third point is doubt,
Hmm.
um, which is like another way of stagnation, is where
Yeah.
you do not come to a certain conclusion. Um, Often the reason for that is that there is no foundation within the psyche, no feeling of self-worth, of self-reflection,
Mm.
which leads eventually to a decision. A lot
Yeah.
of doubt often arises out of insecurity.
Hmm.
Some people I have seen, they doubt about everything in daily life, about doing groceries, about what to buy, about
Mm.
simple social things.
Hmm.
And again, it's another reason for that prevents our spiritual progress. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
why it
Oh
is a way
yes.
how evil works. Yeah,
Yeah, that brings you to stagnation. Yeah.
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 And
Wow.
that's what you see in the classical examples of an exorcism, where the
Hmm.
demon, through a person, may cause doubt within the
Ah,
mind and the
yes.
heart of the exorcist. But it can happen in everyday life to all of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
And then it cracks,
Yeah.
like obviously if the priest doing the exorcism starts doubting, then it all goes to hell, literally.
No, exactly. Yeah. Often it's the little sidekick who starts to doubt,
Yeah.
who goes into a dialogue with the demon,
Mm.
because it feels accused,
Yeah.
and he says, "Oh no, you're not right about that," and starts an argument with the demon, which of
You're
course
gonna
is
lose,
completely, you're
obviously.
going to lose anyway,
Yeah.
and it's often, or it's based upon lies, or it is truthful, but then again, it has no use of arguing with the devil about it.
No.
So yeah,
No,
yeah,
they're gonna twist everything until they defeat you. So
yeah,
it's like it's
exactly,
best, like,
exactly.
don't give it not a centimeter, not an inch into your mind.
Mhm.
Don't like just like put a wall and just like no. No,
Yeah.
like not today, Satan, not today.
Oh, exactly. It except from a few moments or occasions during
Mm.
a serious exorcism, uh, the it's actually a monologue from the exorcist
Ah.
towards the subject.
Mm.
Apart from the moments where it comes, for example, to the identification of the demon,
Mhm.
because that's very important. You know
Oh yes.
what you're up to, what you're dealing with.
Mm.
Um, and that is outside of a possession. That's also very important in normal, let's say, spiritual work, where you try to identify or expose what is actually bothering you. That's the same thing.
Mm.
Very important to get to know through therapy or whatever it is. What is it? What's the core of the thing? What is its name?
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And of course, and then the fourth point is enticement. So attraction and temptations. And yeah, well, that's also a great weapon
Oh
in the
yes.
hands of evil. And again, it can be coming from outside in, and it can be, of course, something that is deep ingrained within your psyche, um, to do with whatever it is. Temptation may come from, I don't know, the sexual, sensual cause or reason, but it can also be money, for example, possessions. Um, and here it says attraction and temptation. Enticement may also come with opposing things, the resistance against things,
Mm.
not only attraction and temptations. So in a Kabbalistic way, it's the constant push and pull between the right and the left pillar. And you
Yeah.
can't get out of it because there's no center.
Yeah. Yeah. You're swinging from one side to the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
You're caught up in that dynamic.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
And
makes.
that happens often. I mean, you can see it if you follow the news on a daily basis about what's right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the field of enticement,
Yeah.
because you follow the opinions of the newspaper, whatever it is.
Oh
And
yes.
and if we're not careful, you're lost.
Oh,
sooner or
yes.
later.
With doom
If you're against
scrolling,
this,
that's how they call it, doom scrolling. So yeah, that's very easy to get lost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on a daily basis to observe these 4 points just in daily life to see how do I deal with this within my own psyche, and or how do these things come to me from the outside world, like we just said, the media or politics.
Oh, yeah.
And how do I have a healthy stance towards it?
Yeah.
And again, probably the best way of dealing with it, we talked about it before, how does it bring me to the light? How does it liberate me instead of imprisoning me and stagnating?
Yeah. Wow. Wow, this was quite, again, another great dissertation. I'm just going to show real quick the next slide so that people can see what we're going to continue talking about in our next
like
program.
A teaser.
Like a teaser. So now we're going to go into the real sauce of the thing, no? So you're going to give us more detailed examples now into exorcism, right? Like how, I mean, we already talked a little bit about this, but we're going to go deeper into it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And also talk about not just the different points of what may happen, the forms, but also a bit more like in examples of the different hierarchies of people.
Okay. That's going to be super interesting. Oh, so you're leaving the best for last. That's good. You're keeping us on our toes.
If it's the last one, yeah.
If it's, hopefully, we don't know, but you're keeping us in our toes. Like you're saving the good stuff for.
I don't know.
I
don't. I don't feel guilty.
No. I don't want to make you doubt. Sorry.
No. Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow, what an amazing journey you're taking us here, Mike. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts for today's program that you want to share with our viewers, our listeners?
Well, like always, I'm a practical man, and I like to take these things to our daily lives, and would say, like we just talked about, just be very vigilant and don't see it always like a serious case of possession, but just look at it from a healthy psychological perspective, and see if you can clarify for yourself where these different principles live within you. Like we just talked about shame and guilt and deception and lies. How honest are you to yourself? And to try to clarify this a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that it's
that's a good exercise.
Yeah, very illustrative. Now we have these pointers so we can be observant, and when we notice what's going on, maybe stop it in its tracks, and if not stop it entirely, at least be aware of it and be gentler with ourselves when these things happen, because also when you're too hard on yourself, as you said, that's going to make things worse. So that's a good point.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And on the other hand, don't try to find the devil in the other one, but let's see if we can find the angels and the demons in ourselves first. And then we have a much more clear view on who the other person is as well.
Yeah. And the Bible says that. I don't know how the quote goes. Maybe you will know in English, like stop worrying to try to get out of the eye of your neighbor, like
the splinter
and get out.
The beam. Yeah.
The beam. Thank you.
Block
That's
of wood out of your own.
Exactly. So tend to your own beam and let the neighbor take care of their splinter. And that's all you need to do. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's
all right.
Yeah.
So, dear Mike, can you share with us your social media information so that people can follow you or connect with you if they have any questions?
Sure. So on Facebook, you may find me under my own name, Mike Bais, or on the Circle of Avalon, to related pages. Or have a look at my website, circleofavalon.nl, or KabbalahMysticalSchool.com. Or send me an email. But you might as well, if you're interested in what we have been talking about, send it, of course, to the channel, to you.
Yeah, you can leave your comments here in the video or your questions. And so we will be back in a few weeks because we're going to prepare a special program about Advent. And I think that we will conclude this series until next Gregorian year because this has been
I think we have to.
Very unexpected, the length, but I think it's good that we're taking our time to present all of this information because many people, I am learning so much. Many people might not be aware of these things happening. We think like, oh, I don't play the Ouija, and oh, I don't do the ritual, so I'm safe. And we're seeing here that that's not necessarily the case. So we have to be very vigilant. So thank you so much, dear Mike. So we'll see each other very soon. Bring you more content. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the little bell so that every time we have a new video, then you can come and see what we're sharing. Thank you, dear Mike. Thank you, Synchronauts. Thank you so much. And we'll be seeing each other very soon. And until then, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.